Right now, walk into any forest and go quiet, and you become the most terrifying animal that ground has ever known. Scarier than the wolves. Scarier than the bears. Scarier, it turns out, than the mountain lion itself. You think going silent is you being gentle, polite, leaving the place in peace. But scientists hid speakers out in the wild and played one sound to the top predators alive. Mountain lions, badgers, even the big cats of Africa. Not a roar, just a calm human voice, someone talking. And those predators didn't get cautious. They panicked. They abandoned their food and fled, running from the sound of a person far harder than they ever ran from a lion. Because to the wild, you are not one hunter among many. You are the super predator, the one that takes down adult prey up to 14 times faster than anything else on Earth. And the quieter, the stiller, the more focused you get, the more perfectly you become the exact thing every animal out there has spent its whole life learning to fear. By the end of this, you'll see why your most peaceful moment in nature might be the most frightening thing that deer has ever felt. This is a channel about why we're like this. The strange, hidden wiring that connects us to the rest of the living world, whether we notice it or not. If that's your kind of thing, subscribe, because we do this every week. Now let me take you inside the mind of an animal watching a silent human walk by and show you what it actually sees. Start with the sound of a forest that feels safe, because a safe forest is never truly silent. If you sit still in the woods for an hour, you learn that the wild is a constant, low conversation. Birds calling, insects sawing away in the grass, squirrels rustling, leaves shifting, a woodpecker knocking somewhere off to your left, the scuffle of something small in the leaf litter. That background hum is not noise. To the animals living inside it, it is information. It is a map of who is where and whether anyone is worried. And there is one rule that runs underneath all of it. When the sound stops, something is wrong. Think about what actually makes a forest go quiet. A hawk drifts overhead, and the songbirds cut off mid-call. A fox slips into the clearing, and the chatter dies. The frogs stop. The insects hold their breath. In the wild, sudden silence almost always means one thing. A predator is close. So the animals don't just hear the quiet. They react to it, instantly, the way you'd react to a smoke alarm going off in the middle of the night. There's no debate about it. The body moves before the mind has finished the thought. And here's what's easy to miss. That silence spreads. One bird goes quiet, and the birds near it go quiet, and within seconds, a whole patch of forest has gone still, passing the alarm along without a single word. The quiet itself is a message, traveling faster than any animal could run. Every creature in earshot now knows the same thing. Something is hunting. Now walk a human into that world. You think you're being polite. You slow down. You lower your voice. You try to move without snapping every twig. From your point of view, you are being respectful. From the animal's point of view, a large, unknown creature has entered the area, and it is moving with the exact stillness that every dangerous thing moves with right before it strikes. You didn't announce yourself. You didn't crash and stumble and make a clumsy racket like a deer or a raccoon going about its day. You went quiet. And in the grammar of the wild, going quiet is the opening move of a predator closing in. Here's the thing most people get backwards. We assume the loud human is the frightening one. The hiker with the trekking poles, the family shouting to each other, the dog barking. But an animal reads that noise almost like relief. Loud, careless, chaotic movement says, "This thing is not focused on me. It's just passing through." A creature that's making that much racket has clearly not spotted you, has clearly not chosen you, is clearly not being careful. And careful is the thing to be afraid of. It's the silent one. The one you can barely hear, the one that seems to be paying attention, that sets off every alarm the animal has. Let's give this a name, because we're going to come back to it. Call it the silent signal. Not the sound you make, but the sound you take away. And to understand why that signal lands so hard, we have to look at the single most surprising thing science has ever discovered about how animals see us. Here's an experiment that changes how you'll walk through nature forever. A team of ecologists led by a researcher named Surasai. You say it's Surachi. Along with two scientists named Clinchy and Zanet, that's Zunet, wanted to answer a simple question. What is the animal that wild predators fear the most? Not what eats them. What scares them? So they went out into the wild and they hid speakers. And through those speakers, they played different sounds to large carnivores going about their lives. Mountain lions, badgers. Even, in related work, the big predators of Africa. Sometimes the speaker played the sound of another fearsome predator, like a lion or a dog barking. And sometimes the speaker played the one sound that turned out to matter most of all, the sound of a human being. Just people, talking, calmly, reading, chatting, the ordinary murmur of a human voice. The kind of sound you'd hear from someone on the phone 2 rooms away. Nothing threatening about it, no shouting, no aggression. Just a person, being a person. And the results were staggering. Picture a mountain lion that has just made a kill. It has worked for that meal. Everything in its body says stay, feed, protect the food. Then, out of the brush, comes the sound of a human voice. And the lion doesn't hesitate. It walks away from the kill. It gives up the meal it fought for, and it leaves. When the same lions heard the sound of another predator, they were cautious, wary. But they held their ground. They didn't run from a lion. They ran from us. And it wasn't a fluke. That was the part that unsettled the scientists. It happened over and over, across different animals, in different places. The badger bolted for its den. The big cats abandoned their food and stayed away from the area far longer after a human voice than after any natural predator. Across species, again and again, the same result, with a consistency that's almost eerie. Animals were more frightened of the sound of a person than of the top natural predator in their entire world. Sit with that for a second. The mountain lion, one of the most efficient killers on the continent, hears a human murmur and bolts like a frightened deer. Not because the voice was loud. Not because it was aggressive. It was calm. It was ordinary. And that was enough to make an apex predator drop everything and flee. To the wild, we are not one predator among many. We are the predator that the other predators are scared of. Scientists have a name for this, and once you hear it, you can't unhear it. They call us the super predator. In 2015, a team led by a researcher named Darimont, you say it Darimont, published a study in the journal Science with a title that says it all, The Unique Ecology of Human Predators. And they found the hard numbers behind the fear. Human beings take adult prey animals at up to 14 times the rate of other predators. 14 times the removal rate. That is the key. Most predators mainly take the young, the old, the sick, the weak. A wolf pack culls the deer that couldn't keep up. A lion takes the buffalo that fell behind. It's the natural way of things, and it's been the natural way of things for millions of years. But we do something no other hunter on Earth does at that scale. We target the strong adults, the ones in their prime, the breeding animals, the ones every other predator leaves alone. We hunt in a way that breaks every rule the wild is built on. And over generations, animals have learned the lesson down to their bones. The two-legged thing is not like the others. The two-legged thing doesn't play by the rules. The two-legged thing is the most dangerous animal alive. So when that fear is already baked in this deep, what happens when the super predator goes quiet and stares and moves with total focus? That's where this gets genuinely unsettling. Because now you're not just a human. You're a human doing all the things a predator does right before the strike. To feel what the animal feels, you need one more idea. And it might be the most important one in this whole story. A biologist named Laundré, you say it Laundré, gave us a phrase that reshaped how scientists think about wild animals. He called it the landscape of fear. And here's what it means. A prey animal does not live in the physical world you see, with its trees and rocks and open meadows. It lives inside a mental map of danger. Every spot in its range is marked in its mind with a feeling. This clearing is exposed and terrifying. That thicket is safe. This ridge is where a cousin died last spring. This waterhole is worth the risk only at dawn. The animal is not just walking through a forest. It is walking through a map of everywhere it could be killed. And that map is powerful enough to change everything the animal does, even when nothing is actually attacking it. This is the part scientists found genuinely surprising. You don't need a single predator to be present. You don't need one attack to happen. The fear alone is enough to reshape the whole landscape. Deer will avoid a rich, food-filled meadow entirely if it feels too dangerous, and go hungry in a worse patch that feels safe. They'll eat with their heads up, taking a bite and then snapping back to scan, so that a place that should give them a full belly gives them half of one. They'll shift where they sleep, which trails they use, what time of day they dare to move. The fear itself, not the attack, is what runs their lives. Think about what that means. An animal can lose weight, can raise fewer young, can slowly wear itself down, in a landscape where nothing ever laid a paw on it. Just the possibility of the predator was enough to do the damage. They are governed less by what is happening and more by what might happen. And the thing that shapes that map most of all is the presence of whatever they fear the most, which brings us back to you. Now drop a silent human into that landscape of fear. To the animal, you are already the scariest thing on the map, the super predator whose voice sends lions running. Your very presence bends the map around you, turning safe ground into a place to flee. And you have just done the three things that, in the animal's mind, mean a strike is coming. First, you went quiet. In the wild, quiet means focus, and focus means a hunter that has chosen its target. Second, you're moving with intention. Not the loose, wandering, head-down amble of a grazing creature, but a straight, deliberate, purposeful line. A grazing animal drifts. It stops, it nibbles, it wanders sideways for no reason. A hunter moves towards something. Purpose is what a predator has and prey does not, and the animal can read the difference in the very shape of how you walk. And third, this is the one that pushes it over the edge. You're facing it, and you're staring. This is real, and it's documented across an enormous range of animals, from birds to primates. It goes deep, all the way down to some of the simplest creatures and all the way up to our closest relatives. A predator's eyes face forward, side by side, locked on its target, so it can judge the exact distance for the pounce. And prey animals have evolved to read that forward-facing stare as the most dangerous cue in existence. Watch a small bird when a face turns toward it. It flees sooner, and it flees harder than when the same face is turned away. The eyes are the trigger. A direct, unblinking gaze pointed straight at them means one specific thing. You have been detected. The hunter sees you. The strike is imminent, so picture it from the animal's side. A large creature, already known to be the deadliest thing in the world, has gone silent, is moving toward it with clear purpose, and is looking directly into its eyes. Every single warning light the animal has is now flashing at once. You think you're admiring a beautiful deer in a quiet meadow. The deer thinks it is about to die. Let me slow it all the way down and put you inside a single moment from both sides at once. It's early morning. The light is still low and gray, the grass wet, the air cool enough to see your breath. You're on a trail, alone, and you've decided to be respectful of the wildlife, so you're moving as quietly as you can. Up ahead, in a patch of long grass, there's a deer, head down, grazing. It hasn't run. You can hardly believe your luck, so you freeze. You don't want to scare it, so you stand perfectly still. You go silent, and you watch. From your side, this is peaceful. You feel a kind of calm reverence. Your heartbeat slows. You're barely breathing because you don't want to break the spell. You are being the best possible visitor, the quietest guest, taking nothing but a memory. Now cross over to the deer. For the first few seconds, the deer heard you coming, and that was almost fine. A little rustle, a footstep, the ordinary sound of something moving through the grass. Loud things are usually harmless things, so the deer kept grazing, kept one ear loosely, turned your way, and let you be. Then it stopped. The sound went away. And that absence is the first spike of alarm, because in the deer's world, things that go silent are things that are locking on. Watch the deer's body now. The head comes up, slowly. The jaw stops moving mid-chew. Its ears swivel toward you like radar dishes, hunting for a sound that isn't there anymore. The muscles in its legs load, the way a spring loads. And now it's doing the terrible arithmetic of prey. Where is it? Why can't I hear it? A thing that was there and is now silent, hasn't left. It's decided. What is it waiting for? Then the deer sees you. A tall, upright shape, wrong in every way. Two eyes, side by side, facing straight forward, pointed directly at it, not moving, not eating, not doing any of the things a harmless animal does, just watching, just focused, locked on. And that is the moment the deer's landscape of fear lights up like a city at night, because everything about you, the silence, the stillness, the forward stare, spells the same word in the only language the deer has ever needed to understand. Predator. The deer bolts. One instant it's frozen, the next it's gone, tail up, crashing through the brush, running like its life depends on it, because as far as it knows, it does. And you stand there, in the empty morning, a little heartbroken, thinking, but I was being so gentle. I didn't make a sound. And that, right there, was the problem. You didn't make a sound. To you, the silence was kindness. To the deer, the silence was the tell. That's the silent signal in a single moment. And just when you think you've got the whole picture, the science throws in a twist that changes everything. Because here's what you'd expect if animals really are terrified of us. You'd expect that fear to be blind. A blanket panic at anything human-shaped. Every person, everywhere, treated as a deadly threat. One rule, no exceptions, 2 legs, run. But that's not what's happening. And this is the part that flips the whole story on its head. Research emerging in 2026 is showing something genuinely startling. Wild animals can tell the difference between humans. Not all humans are equally scary to them. They can read the situation, the behavior, even the individual, and adjust their fear accordingly. A person who has hunted them or moved through their world like a threat gets treated as one. A person who is calm and consistent and clearly not on the attack gets a little more tolerance. The animals are doing something we assumed only we could do. They're judging us, individually. Think about what that takes. To tell a hunter from a hiker, an animal has to hold on to more than just the shape of a human. It has to notice how this particular one moves. Does it come straight at me or drift past? Does it stop and fix on me or keep going about its business? Has this kind of behavior hurt me before? The animal is reading posture, direction, pace, focus. The whole body language of intent, and running it against everything it has learned. It means the fear isn't a dumb reflex. It's a running calculation, updated in real time, based on how you move and what you do. Which means the way you carry yourself through the wild is not a fixed sentence you can't escape. It's a message the animal is actively reading. You are, whether you like it or not, in a conversation. And that completely rewrites what we thought we knew. The old assumption was that being quiet and hidden made you less threatening, more invisible, more polite. But if the animal can read you, then the quiet, careful, hidden approach isn't invisibility at all. It's the exact profile of the one human they've learned to fear the most. The still, silent, watching one. The one that behaves like a hunter. You weren't disappearing. You were doing the single most alarming impression a human can do, which leads to a conclusion that sounds completely upside down until you really follow the logic. The most peaceful thing you can do in the wild might be to stop being so quiet. And this is where it stops being a fun fact and starts being about you. Because think about how we've decided to enjoy nature, the whole ideal of it, the silent hike. The still, patient wildlife photographer crouched for hours behind a blind, barely breathing, dressed in camouflage, lens pointed like a telescope, trying to disappear. The birdwatcher frozen with binoculars raised, 2 round lenses staring out of the brush. The quiet nature tour where the guide holds a finger to their lips and everyone whispers so as not to disturb the animals. We built an entire culture of experiencing the wild by going as silent and hidden and watchful as possible. And we did it out of love. Out of respect. We genuinely believed that the quieter we were, the kinder we were being. There's something almost beautiful about it. A whole species trying to tiptoe through a world it knows it can wreck, trying to take up as little space as possible. But look at what that behavior actually is, through the animal's eyes. Silent, focused, watching from a hide, around, staring lens pointed straight at it, refusing to announce itself. We have, with the best intentions in the world, spent decades perfecting the exact behavioral profile of a stalking super predator and then pointing it at the most nervous creatures on the planet for fun. The photographer holding perfectly still to get the shot is, to the animal, a super predator holding perfectly still to get the kill. Our most reverent, peaceful moments in nature may be, to the animal on the other end, some of the most quietly terrifying. So what do you actually do with that? The answer, strange as it sounds, is to be a little more human, a little more clumsy, a little more loud. When you're moving through a wild place, let yourself be heard. Talk to whoever's with you. Hum a little. Let your footsteps fall naturally on the trail instead of creeping heel to toe. Snap the odd twig and don't apologize for it. Because to an animal, a noisy, careless, chattering human is a human that is clearly not hunting. Nothing that wants to eat you would ever make that much noise. The noise is the reassurance. The noise says, I'm just passing through. You're safe. This isn't the moment you've feared your whole life. Being naturally noisy isn't rude to the wild. It's mercy. So I want to hear from you. Drop a comment and tell me. Have you ever had a wild animal look at you, freeze, and then run when you swore you were being perfectly gentle? Now you know what it saw. I read every single one. And those stories are the best part of doing this. And if this changed the way you'll walk through the woods, subscribe and stick around. Next time, we're going deeper into the same hidden wiring, into the strange reason a pair of eyes on you, from across a room or across a meadow, can make the hair on your neck stand up before you even know why. It's one of the oldest instincts we've got, and one of the biggest reasons we're like this. So the next time you go into the wild and try to vanish into the quiet, remember what the quiet actually says. You spent your whole walk trying to be gentle, and the whole time, without making a sound, you were the most frightening thing in the forest.